More reactions continue to trail President Bola Tinubu's 1 year in office, as Nigerians continue to seek the dividends of his renewed hope agenda. Many in the society are speaking up on what should be done to help the present administration in overcoming the many issues of inflation, insecurity, electricity, and infrastructural decay, just to mention a few. Joining us now on this show as we review the state of the nation under the present leadership of President Bola Tinubu is Isa Yuguda, former governor of Bauchi State. Good morning, and thank you for joining us, sir. Tomorrow is Democracy Day. In fact, today, as you speak, there's going to be a Democracy Day lecture at the State House, at the Villa, 25 years of Nigerian democracy. Now, what's your take? How have we fared with democracy in 25 years? And in the last 1 year, specifically, under President Tinubu. 25 years, 1 year of democracy.
We all had the experience of going through this number of years, of course. And of course, with different experience. So we thank God that we are here today sitting to look at the postmortem of what went on. So I'm happy to be here with you.
All right. Now let's get into a conversation about the state of the nation. What are your thoughts about the state of the nation 1 year into the Tinubu administration? Let's start with economic issues. We all know the state of inflation, the devaluation of the naira, removal of the fuel subsidy. Your take on President Tinubu's performance thus far?
Well, thank you very much, Madam. At least for everything that we have in life, there is a beginning. And as we move on, maybe you move on a learning curve, or if you are already learned, maybe we just move on a smooth, plane. We are very much aware that the Tinubu administration came from a base, and the base is winning elections from winning election on his party and inherited a government that belonged to his own party. And in between the 8 years that passed, that he inherited, Nigerians should be aware of the challenges the country had and went through. And of course, nobody needs to be told, unless otherwise somebody is not well schooled, that things were really bad when it comes to almost all the issues that have to do with the economy of Nigeria. So he took an economy that was basically comatose, I say dead, and he had to start from there. So the removal of subsidy, of course, was part of one of the strategies to get the economy back on track. The resultant effect of the removal, even though people technically do not know what aspect of that removal was removed, which did not necessarily impact on the lives of Nigerians. But given Nigeria what it is, a lot of domino effects were seen cropping up all over the country, from increasing food prices, increasing for transportation costs. Anywhere you go, because of fuel subsidy removal, the story is that I am tripling my prices and so on and so forth. Why? Because the pump price of petrol or PMS or lubricants have doubled or tripled. Not only that, because of the nature of the economy that was inherited, the foreign exchange market, as you have it, inherited from both the formal banking system, that is from the central bank and the operators, the banks, and also the informal market as reflected by the Beredu changes and others that are being operated underground, which we are not aware about. Also had their own, shake-ups. And the value of the Naira started diving on a free fall. And up till now, I believe we have not even stabilized. We can see the swings ups and down. But sadly, these were all born out of the problems created as a result of the team that managed our economy before Tinubu came into government did not really do the good job. So on coming in, we can see that the difficult decisions that ordinarily a president should take to do his job properly, biting the bullet, taking tough decisions, that is what he went into. And he did that at his best. And of course, hard decisions normally come with some difficult times for people. But you have to manage it, because if you don't cure the wound, there is no how you can get complete, recovery. So in the process of cleaning the wound and fixing it, making it better so that it can heal, all of us in the country must be filled with difficulties, pains. It goes with pains. So it is that time that we know there's need to exercise patience, because we are always taught in our books of faith, the Bible and the Quran, that under difficult situations we should be patient, especially if we have a leader who is visionary and he knows precisely what to do to get his country, men and women, on the right track towards developing the economy and developing the nation itself.
Okay. Mr. Yuguda, good to see you, sir. Two questions. Number one, do you think the members of the APC now played politics when the best time to remove the subsidy in 2012, President Jonathan tried it and they rebuffed it and they went to protest on the street? Do you think they should also take the blame because that was the best time economically for us? Secondly, you say the people should be patient. Do you think the people can continue to be patient in a country where political leaders, are spending so large? And take, for instance, a vice presidential palace was just built for 21 billion at the expense of suffering people in Nigeria. Do you think it's right for people to be told to be patient where the leaders too are not being patient in how they spend government money, sir?
Well, sir, I didn't quite get your answer, but I think you're talking about why expenditures were directed towards buildings rather than alleviating, the challenges of the people. Well, I have quite often been in government, and in government, certainly there are priorities here and there, and things are prioritized based on their importance to the lives of the citizens. I wouldn't be able to explain a situation where a building is being financed with billions while on the flip side of it, because I was not at that time, I was not there at the decision point where facts were made available to me. If I was privy to the facts, maybe I'll be able to explain better. But on the surface, given that I don't have sufficient information, it wouldn't make sense for me to support a situation where you have constructions going on with humongous amounts of monies, and yet the other sectors of the economy that has to do with human life are not taken care of. That is not it's a simple ABCD things. But if you are in government, suddenly that building could have been so important, given the facts before you, that it has to be built. If it may not have been built, probably on the flip side of it, there could be threats to the human life or the people who have been, who are the citizens of that country. So it is only a situation of, prioritizing, and it was a priority, it was a necessity. Otherwise, there is no reason. There is nothing more than human life. So if you are aware of construction going on, whose funds were better channeled for the improvement of human life, then we have a problem.
Okay. The first question I asked yesterday, do you think this current APC government then played politics under Goodluck Jonathan when they fought against the subsidy removal, but it's the same subsidy they are removing now, or they claim they have removed? Because we've seen a lot of counter claims, like we saw a recent plan being released by government that said they were still paying subsidies. Do you think they played politics with the lives of Nigerians then?
You see, Rufai, I was part of Jonathan's government. Then I was governor, not minister. And this subsidy regime that had been there over time, at a time when Jonathan attempted to remove the subsidy, I must say that that was about the best time that the president then would have removed the subsidy. I have said it a number of times when I faced in the media that I was part of the team that investigated the subsidy regime and the scam that we saw, and we reported this to our dear nation. So there was every reason to remove the subsidy, because the bulk of the subsidy is paid to products not sold within the Nigerian borders. It may take us a long time, but I'm assuring you a lot of pilferage starts from when the ship is leaving the refinery that picks these products. Down into the West African coast, we have a lot of losses. Coming down to Apapa before Baffin, where they incur a demurrage of over $200 million every month. And then, of course, the discharge between Atlas Cove and then the ship side and Atlas Cove. Hundreds of thousands of liters are lost. And of course, when the tankers load the refined products to be up-country bound, they are discovered that close to about 1/4 of them, or even more, taken across the borders, and you are paying subsidy on it. And at the same time, I mean, papers just change hands. And they end up with X+1 subsidy pumped from Wari to Kaduna, where sometimes it's not true. Papers are just filled. In fact, instances where you have subsidy paid on pipelines that never existed. So this is a subsidy regime that we are talking about, which does not really affect Nigerians, but we pay for it. We subsidize Sub-Saharan Africa and Central Africa, and we pay for their subsidies. This payment of their subsidy does not come to the coffers of government. These subsidies are paid into those racketeers, those cabal that have been doing this in the oil industry. And it's just simple ABC. We can see this thing reflecting in the increased revenue that we have today. Well, but the actual subsidy that is supposed to be paid, I'm sure, is still being paid. I don't know how much because I am not in government, but sadly, there should be. And like you said, during the Jonathan time, He actually wanted, because I was member of the Federation Account Allocation Committee, I chaired the committee. And anytime there were shortfalls, we have to start running around looking for monies here and there to bridge so that, the monthly allocations can be met. Because it's tantamount to, not complying with the budget, the appropriation law. So it was at that time that some of us advised the president to please look at the economy critically, get the economy managers together and start doing some simulations. The possibility of removing subsidy, the possibility of devaluation, because it's all about situations created. Because at that time, our domestic debts were building, external debts were building, and of course, the economy needed to be reflected. So the only windows that then available were those this thing. And at least if the monies were mopped up, there could be sufficient, to deploy in revamping the economy and of course creating jobs, and of course improving the export base of some of the products which ordinarily value needed to be added for them to qualify for exports. But I think the situation then, probably politically, they felt if they removed, then maybe heaven would fall. But I'm assuring you, heaven wouldn't have fallen, because after he left, Buhari regime came in. They immediately went to town and removed the subsidies and removed everything, in fact, even devalued. So that's it.
Well, let's talk about aviation. You were Minister of Aviation before you became governor in Bauchi State. And there's a lot of talk these days about whether we should have national carrier or we should have flag carrier, and all kinds of developments, even with the terminal in Lagos, which I think in 2005 you had to talk about when you visited the Murtala Mohammed Airport. What do you think we're doing wrong in the aviation sector today?
Well, Ruben, the issue of aviation continue coming to the fore and being a subject matter of discuss by the nation. Aviation is so key to the development of an economy. Aviation is one of the, I say, the biggest employer of labor when well managed and the capacities are built. And aviation, as we know it, is a mode of transportation that, flies from one country to another country, and which is why it is essential for a country to have its own flag being flown by a national airline, be it private or public owned. So we've had the experience of the Nigerian Airways, which unfortunately, that started the same year with Saudi Airlines, and where Saudi Airlines today have close to 900 aircraft flying all over the world, while Nigerian Airways is moribund. In fact, it was liquidated just about the time I was moving out of the aviation ministry. And of course, challenges about developing either a flag carrier or a national carrier, depending on the way you do it. But it's a pride for a nation to have its own flag flying all over the world. But after the Nigerian Airways, attempts were made by my predecessors to set up, another airline in place of Nigerian Airways. The challenges they had are there. Even because of the liabilities Nigerian Airways left behind Unless otherwise the entire, business was liquidated, there was no way, a national carrier can be floated. But for the flag carrier, when I was minister, I was challenged by our dear president, then President Obasanjo, that I should set up a flag carrier for Nigeria, but he is not going to give me one single kobo. Because he knows I'm a banker, I'm an investment banker, I may know how to raise funds to make this business possible. Well, we took the challenge, and without wasting too much time, we came up with Virgin Nigeria. The architecture, the financial model we put in place, it's a matter of details which cannot be exposed under this very short time we are talking about. We ended up having Virgin Nigeria. And apparently that would have been the best thing that has happened to Nigeria. Without spending government kobo, you are having an international line that has offices all over the world, with lounges all over the world, because anywhere we had Virgin Atlantic's launch is Virgin Nigeria launch. And it reduced the cost of setting up an airline significantly. And he took 51% of the equity. And locally here, we were able to raise 49% in a private placement arrangement with the Security Exchange Commission and then the stock exchange. We were able to raise over 7 billion then. In fact, the bulk of the monies were returned to the investors. So the airline started, and if you see the projections, they were supposed to have 82 aircraft flying in 7 years. And Lagos was to be the hub and spoke center, and they really started. Somehow, after I left the aviation ministry, Richard Branson, I saw him in CAN, advising the international business community not to come to Nigeria, that Nigeria is the worst place to do business. Because the ministers probably who came thereafter, much as government was deeply involved in terms of concessions given and what have you, there was I couldn't see any reason why that airline was frustrated out of Nigeria after having spent their time, spent their monies. And we on our own part, as aviation personnel, we did our best to give Nigeria the best. So why I'm saying that it is difficult now for international players to come and bid, just like South African Airlines and Richard Branson came to bid, and Richard Branson's Virgin Atlantic emerged to be the winner of the bid. It might be difficult today. And I always tell my colleagues in the aviation that, look, this aviation is driven by volume. The profits are not high as such, but it's an economies of scale business. The more the number of aircraft you have flying, the more the probability that you are going to make money, because the margins are small. And at the same time, I always emphasize the need to try at least to promote it, because aviation would have by now, if we had Virgin Nigeria on, not less than 2 million Nigerians would have been benefiting as workers under the airline, because airlines, it has so many business around it. So, but for now, I've seen situations where they say they are taking government money, they are doing this, they are doing this. Airline business for Nigeria has no business with government money. If an airline is to be floated, we have the players in Nigeria. They can team up together to form one flag carrier for the country. The government can support them, give them some support, but sadly not physical cash. They should come together as businessmen, develop a model, and advise government that they are going to float a national carrier,
all right.
a flag carrier. And government can give them incentives.
Thank you so much for those very valuable insights. Now, as we round up this interview very quickly before you go, of course, we know the heated debate that's currently ongoing about the bill before the National Assembly concerning open grazing. I'd love to know your take and your position on it.
Well, the issue of open grazing or closed grazing, this, do I say, is an afterthought? Because where were the previous Nigerian governments when the livestock that we've had since the creation of Nigeria, where have they not been seeing the livestock milling up and down? Are they not aware that the population of the animals are increasing? Or are they not aware that human beings are giving birth on a regular basis? The white man, when he came, quite all right, he established cattle routes from Sokoto to Lokoja, from Maiduguri to Oturko, and then the cattle route from those towns to Calabar or Port Harcourt is 50 meters setback on the right side of the road, 50 meters setback on the left side of the road. Because then cattle never go to the southern part of the country because such a fly would not allow them to live because it was not eradicated. And we see the white man also, after Lord Lugard finished the conquest of northern Nigeria in 1907, he wanted to set up a government. After setting up the government, there was no, he has to start collecting tax. And who was the first victim of taxation of the white man? It was the Fulani man. That is what they call jangling, cattle tax. And that is what started the economy of Nigeria. Because the correspondences are there in the office of the Secretary to the federal government. Any person who wants to go and have access to the records to read, let him go out there and read. You see where, after collecting the revenue, you write the King of England, I have collected so from jangling. I want the balance of so for my capital and recurrent expenditure. And that is what happened until around 1914, when other sources of revenue, including tax, groundnuts, hides and skin, and others, became a source of revenue for funding government. So, and the injustice on the Fulani man started since then. And what is that injustice? Taxation is on profit, not capital. The nage itself, that is the cattle, is the capital. So they were paying tax on capital, not tax on profit. So you can see the so-called, to quote Opabio, the gun-carrying Fulani, had his setback right from day one. But that time he never carried AK-47. So and this thing continued. And of course you can see, their experience has been very bitter. Some of them are arrested by police for doing nothing, and they are told to sell their cattle to be released. Some of them, the alkalis, and so on and so forth. But to be fair, the white man established cattle routes and grazing reserves all over Nigeria. These cattle reserves, cattle reserves, and then routes are there gazetted as official documents, and they remain so. But we all know this veterinary research firm was established because of them, for their cattle, because the cattle had to be well before they can impose tax on them. So they kept them, and they kept them on their transhumance, traversing from north to south, north to south. But not until much, much later, when Abuja started as a federal capital, almost all the northern Fulani herders ended their journey in Abuja. That's during the dry season. This is where they come and spend the dry season because there is sufficient fodder and also there is sufficient water before they go back to the northern part of the country. But with Abuja, almost the whole of them went south. Because the stories of the deprivation of the Fulani is just a very pathetic story.
On that
and
note.
of course, since independence, they have been serving as the only means of protein for the country. They move up and down. The government is seeing them. Government has intervened in agriculture, clearing fields for planting, like NALDA. They buy fertilizer, they buy this, they buy that, but not animal husbandry. So this unfortunate professional group were left on their own.
Well,
so it is appropriate now that government has come to, hello, I'm just talking about the bill. I say it's appropriate now that there is a bill that is going to lend support for their being resettled in those grazing reserves, especially for those that are not being occupied or inhabited by their fellow Nigerians. And the cattle routes, there is no how you can have a route now. No how somebody leaving Otuko to come to Maiduguri, those cattle routes are no longer there. They have been overtaken. And you can see the experience of the Fulani being their animals killed, their children killed on the way. So it's a tragedy, and it is a welcome idea that a bill can be promoted that can create an environment for them to survive. And it's a huge economy on those cattle people see roaming about. Because from the horn to the hoof, I'm assuring you, from the hoof to the horn, there is no waste. In fact, meat is just 1/10 of the value of a cow.
On that note, sir.
So, and of course, education. If they get settled now, their children can be educated.
Well, on that
we have
note,
relations now who are out there.
On that note, I'd like you to say
the bill is a welcome idea.
Well, on that note,
hello?
On that note, I was going to say, we seem to have run out of time. On that note, we'd like to thank you very much for joining us on the moment.